J Sai Deepak, one of the most intellectual people in this country, a great lawyer as well as someone who is very good at destroying all the anti-India critics as well as anti-Hindu critics especially. And today we are going to take a look at a thug life compilation of J Sai Deepak, put together by my producer, which is again me and just my wife. So let's dive into it.
My point is, everything that relates to Islam necessarily comes from a book and commentaries which do not originate in India.
Yeah.
Would that be a correct statement to make?
You're absolutely wrong.
Oh, please
You don't know.
Sahih al-Bukhari was authored in India.
Do you know Fatih Alamgiri? Do you believe that the Islamic law is only Quran and Sunnah? No, you're absolutely wrong.
Go ahead, please
No, it
explain.
is not.
Right.
It is Quran, it is Sunnah,
Right.
it is the judicial or the fatwas given.
Hadith.
It is Sunnah is Hadith
Hadith only.
only. Then you have schools of thought.
Right.
Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, fiqh.
Right.
Then you have Fatih Alamgiri. There are so many books.
So these schools of thought, what is the basis of the schools of thought? Is the
Every religion, every school of thought.
Right.
Listen,
The audience answer the question. Okay. Great.
No, listen,
Yes, please.
fantastic.
Right.
Majority of Indian Muslims are Hanafis.
Okay.
We follow Fatwa Alamgiri.
Okay.
And that protection where it comes from? Article 26.
Okay.
Isn't it?
And what is the basis of Fatwa Alamgiri?
Fatwa Alamgiri is the opinion of the Islamic scholars who were born in India.
Based on what?
Based on Quran and Sunnah. And I also advise. Listen, no. If you don't find an
Oh my god, tears in my eyes, really. I have seen this clip before, to be honest. I have seen it 3-4 times over the last couple of years, ever since J Sai Deepak got famous on social media. But believe me when I say this, every time I say this, it makes me laugh because even Asauddin Owaisi knows that where this is going and he still cannot stop it because what he's arguing is a lie. Abrahamic religions, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, definitely Islam, has no origins in India, none at all. And J Sai Deepak was just pointing that out, and then Asauddin Owaisi was being dishonest and he got find out.
There's a group of people that feel their fundamental rights are being denied. Why is there even a resistance to expanding the rights of others when it's not taking away any from us?
Assuming that there are two couples and they're interested in having a polyamorous relationship.
Okay, this is about the same-sex marriage debate that has been going on in the last couple of years, you can say.
They're all adults and hopefully not brothers and sisters. Assume for a moment that this particular practice acquires a certain critical mass. What is your position going to be then?
You can see the inherent contradiction in what you're saying. If the will of
She says contradiction, and I will get back to this, but let's watch this first.
the will of society is to have polyamorous relationships, how do you become the custodian to stop that?
If the will of the society is also going to be to change the nature of the constitution, hit reset on the constitution, give it a different Rashtra altogether, will you give effect to that identity as well?
You know, you've changed. I was
No,
asking.
the logic is the same.
No,
Logic is the
no,
same.
logic is not
If
the
the
It is
same.
the
society
same.
accepts something, you're saying it must be acceptable to the judiciary. If I were to end up convincing 90% of this community, or let's say of this country, to my position, will you then accept it? Then I then say, I don't need to go to the court. I'll hit the reset. I'll use Article 368 and come out with a different constitution altogether. Republic 2.0. Are you okay with it?
Okay, I'm going to get drawn into. I'm going to play ref.
Obviously, I'm not going to get drawn into it because you cannot debate him. This guy is an absolute genius. And the thing is, this time he's actually spot on as well. But let's finish this clip first.
Free and
Got my
not.
answer.
Whenever we think of the Mughals,
Okay, that was about it. So basically what she was trying to do is she was trying to use the constitution as a tool, and J Sai Deepak specifically pointed out is that what if you're so in for the constitution, what if 90% of the country, let's say, agrees on something but that does not match with what's written in the constitution, then what will you do then? Then suddenly she cannot obviously carry on because her hypocritical nature, her contradiction which she was saying at the start of it, she was doing it herself. She was being hypocritical and she was definitely being contradicting, and she found out.
we think of the Mughals, we start thinking of Amitabh Bachchan's voice in Jodha Akbar, where he starts saying, Mughal यहाँ पे आए, भारत को नवाजा, यहाँ पे बैठ गए, ये लुटेरे नहीं थे.
सन 1450 में कदम रखा मुगलों ने, जिन्होंने इसे अपना घर बनाया, इसे प्यार दिया और नवाजा.
The settler colonizer is being given credit for not being an invader or a looter. Imagine the problem with that entire principle. Someone who decides to stay here, occupy your home, is treated as being better than someone who loots and runs away. You see the Vikruti in this consciousness?
That is a real problem in India, and that originates from the culture, that originates from Bollywood specifically, because what Bollywood has done is that they have made sure that we sympathize with all these invaders, whether it's Akbar, whether it's Shah Jahan, whether it's Aurangzeb, whoever these people were, they were invaders nonetheless. So they invaded and they stayed here, they overstayed their welcome, and they are being portrayed as they were better than the colonizers. They were better than the colonizers, which means they were better than the English, they were better than the British people who came us, looted us, and then went home. And there is this thinking that they are better than the looters. And the problem with this is that all of this generates, or all of this comes from Bollywood specifically, because they have made sure that we see these people in a way that they have not been. Let me be very clear. They were first invaders and then everything else. They have looted, they have killed our people, they have done horrible things to our people to make sure that they stay in power for years and years and years, or even centuries in some cases. And any comparison that is between this much evil and this much evil, so who is less of the all evils, that conversation should not happen. So there is no comparison between who was the less of the evils. This is not a conversation we should have at all. Both were bad. Both the colonizers as well as the invaders are bad. In this country, we worship the invaders and we only criticize the looters. And it shouldn't be that way. Both should be criticized and none of them should be worshipped.
I refuse to call him Mahatma. I've never called him Mahatma. I will not call him Mahatma. For me, he's just Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. I don't think you should deify someone so much. If Sri Rama can be criticized, why should Gandhi not be criticized? Is Gandhi bigger than Rama, who he worshipped? He's
Definitely not, yeah.
And he was a politician, not a saint. He was a politician, not a saint. Remember that. Keep telling yourself that each time you're tempted to worship a politician, regardless of whoever he is or she is.
He's absolutely spot on. Why do we call him Mahatma? Mahatma means someone who is great, who has no problems, who has done no sins, but we are worshipping this guy who have said that Jews should sacrifice themselves when Hitler was gassing them. He has said that. He also said that Hindus should sacrifice themselves to the colonizers, to the invaders. He has advised all of these things. And this person is on our currency notes. This person is who we worship. And yes, I know both political parties do that because the sentiment hasn't grown in the country to let him, to expose him for what this guy was. Sure, he has played a part in our independence, sure, but a lot of part was all the other freedom fighters who were actually fighting in the battlefronts. And then obviously the Britain were losing the World War II. They had no resources, so they had to pull out of India to make sure that they can win the World War II as well. So all of these things were huge contribution to make sure that we have got our independence. To say that only because of this guy we are independent, that is an absolute lie. They believe this lie and that's why they call him Mahatma. He shouldn't be called Mahatma. He should just be Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, and that is what he's saying.
So assume for a moment 50% of the country believes that Alamgir Aurangzeb was a tyrant, was an oppressor.
He was.
50% of the country believes नहीं ये तो हमारे वली है, that he is someone who is a role model worthy of emulation. That shows a fundamental problem or a fault line in the society.
Definitely does.
आप किसको पूजते हैं और किसको नफरत करते हैं या किससे नफरत करते हैं, that matters, because that tells you how many areas of commonality you share and how deep is the division on issues that relate to your identity. Therefore, unless and until there is a shared view of your past and a shared vision of your future, there is no concept of a nation.
He's absolutely correct here. If you have any sympathy to all these invaders and all these colonizers, as I said before, it's just you are not faithful to your country. The country was founded in 1947. Any person who you worshipped back then should be left back then, because after that you should be loyal to your country. You shouldn't be loyal to the people who invaded us, who are foreign to this land, who have massacred people, who have killed people, who have beheaded people. You cannot worship these people anymore. We have cities named after these people. We have cities. And this shouldn't go on. This should be stopped, because what he's saying is that to form a nation, to have an idea of a nation, people need to share same history, and not just to share the same history, but they need to have the same understanding of the history, because we cannot treat invaders like they were idols. That is an absolute mistake. Many countries have paid for this kind of behavior in the past. Many are doing it right now as we are speaking. This should stop immediately, and people who know this should be more outspoken about this, and that's how we change this.
At a time when already you have so much of polarization in society, so much rage, so many avenues that are blocked for self-expression, that sometimes rage is the only way you can express yourself. Is that not somewhat dangerous?
Sure, but the burden should not be on the Hindu community alone.
True.
Given that they're a majority?
So? No, hold on. So
This
because
goes back to the
He got her.
that's exactly what I'm coming to.
Yeah.
the existence of the Hindu community in the majority does not mean that we have a greater responsibility to preserve peace. This is the false narrative, and particularly as a community which has suffered at the hands of invaders and colonizers, I'm sorry, the burden is no more on us. We have done away with 1/3 of our land by way of Pakistan and Bangladesh. What more is expected of this community?
So what he just said makes a lot of sense. If you look at the current climate as well, there is this thinking going on is that if you have a majority in a country, if a specific community like Hindus in India or Jewish people in Israel and also called Palestine, then the burden is always on the people who are majority to make sure that there is peace. But that is absolutely untruthful, because the thing is, it does not matter who has the majority. If the people in the minority are going to act in a way, in an uncivilized way, they are going to act in terroristic ways, what is the majority supposed to do? There is this concept going on is that because majority means more people, that means they cannot be oppressed. They are the oppressors always. That has always been the thinking, and that thinking is wrong, as we know, and all the events happening around in the world right now, we know this is not always the case, is that majority is always in the wrong and the minority is always on the right. That is not a thing, and he's just exposing that.
So, who is going to protect you if tomorrow there is an armed mob that stands outside your gated community with your private security guards and says,
No one.
send them out or we'll finish you? What do you do then? Now pray to God. This country is running only on Ram Bharose, but even Jai Shri Ram is politically incorrect today, so I don't know what to say. I'll just leave it at that. The moment you say Jai Shri Ram when there is a mob outside you, they will say you threatened the mob.
That is true.
You don't even have the luxury. You don't even have the luxury of invoking your God's name in the time of misery and trouble.
True.
You see how free speech works. Very convenient in this country.
He's very good at pinpointing the hypocrisies in this country that are still going on. Like last clip was just about how Hindus have a majority in this country. That's why they cannot be oppressed. But then there are instances where Hindus, they are praying for their Lord, whether it's Ram, whether it's Hanuman, whether it's any of the gods. And just because of that, they get persecuted. Because of that, their cases thrown at them for rising the communal tensions and everything and all of that. So how does that work? How does that work? If we are a Hindu majority country and we are a apartheid society, so to speak, as Westerners like to call us, then why is it that people who are the majority in this country cannot even worship their own gods in open daylight? Why is that? That he's just exposing that for what it is.
I went to Israel recently. Think of the Israeli society as a society with concentric circles. At the core is the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community. The next ring is the Orthodox Jewish community. Then comes the conservative Jew. Imagine ultra-Orthodox, Orthodox, and then you have the conservative Jew. And then you have the secular Jew. And on the outer fringe is perhaps the atheists. But the one thing that I was surprised and astounded by is the shared sense of Jewish heritage and pride in Jewish heritage that each of these people have, regardless of which ring they are in. Can you say the same thing about a secular Hindu and a conservative Hindu as far as India is concerned?
No.
You will not be in a position to say this, because he is so far removed and his level of guilt is so high that he'll perhaps be the first person to spit on his own roots compared to the outside.
Again, a good comparison he has made is that if you compare the Jewish community in Israel and the Hindu community in India, you will see there are a lot of differences. As he pointed out, there are many stages. There are people who are extremely religious, then there are people who are less religious, then there are conservative people, then there are normal people, then there are atheists as well. And then even if they have so much diversity in thought, is that the practices of their God, they might not be that dedicated, then there might be more dedicated, and all of that, there is a lot of diversity it's going on, but they still are very loyal to their homeland. They're still very loyal to Israel, and you don't find that here. You don't find that here. If you compare a liberal Indian and if you compare a conservative Indian, there are not a lot of common factors. There are people who trash this country every single day and they make money from it. They have no loyalty to this country. They won't leave. They say they hate this country so much, then why don't go and live anywhere else? You don't go. You do that. Go. If you think this country is so bad, it's so racist and it's so Islamophobic, it's so apartheid, as so to speak, or it's just a Hindu country and a Hindu dominating country, then okay, go. There are a lot of countries. Live there, live your life. But that's what I'm saying, is that there's a huge difference between the left leaning people in the country, the liberal people of India, and the conservative people of India, because these people have no love for this country. They will spit on this country every single day, and that's the difference which you won't find in Israel.
What makes the Indian concept of religion different from Western understanding of religion, or let's say an Abrahamic understanding of religion? One person mentioned polytheism. There are 2 or 3 consequences that flow from polytheism. One, that you do not believe in imposing one God on everybody else. Yes or no? Okay.
True.
Therefore, everybody is entitled to choose for themselves a certain form of the deity. Yes or no? Okay. Therefore, with that flows the concept of diversity in religious beliefs. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Therefore, inherently, you're comfortable with diversity. Yes or no? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure that most people who are part of this audience don't come from the same part of India. Yes or no? Are you uncomfortable with each other?
No.
So does any outsider need to teach you lessons in diversity?
Absolutely not. He's absolutely correct here. Western reporters, Western media, Western news like to criticize us that India is not very diverse. India, there is a lot of problems in India. There is a minority problems and everything. You come here, all these reporters who make these reports sitting in the West, come here, see, if you go to any state, people have not just different religions but different backgrounds. People have immigrated here from all the places. If you go to northeastern side, you go to northern side, southern side, every state, every district has different background, has different culture, sometimes even different ethnicity as well as religions as well. So India itself is very diverse. To lecture us on our diversity is one of the most stupidest things West has ever done in the last 10-15 years.
I've been made a specific request that as much as possible, if we could speak in both English and Hindi for the benefit of the audience, that would help. Sure, great, okay. So I'll start with my first question. So sorry.
No, this is the culture of India that all 3 South Indians are sitting and you're asked to speak in Hindi. Good.
Okay, we'll see.
Just a small correction, sir. I'm an Indian from the south, not a South Indian.
That is a Sigma reply, so to say. And he's correct. India is very unique in that nature, is that if you compare us to US, then people are more loyal to their states, people are more loyal to their city, people are more loyal, and then it's from the ground to the federal level to the national level. In India, it's kind of other way around. Even if you have a lot of disagreements, even if you have a lot of stuff, you still have some level of love for India, except the people who I just mentioned, who are on the fringe left side. Excuse those people, let's throw them away to some other country, I don't mind. But the rest of it, there is a common social structure there, there's a social balance there, which shows that you still have the nationalistic nature, and in a good way, I mean, is that we still love our country even if it has problems, which to be honest every country does. Whether they might have different problems, you might have different problems, but the common consensus is that the majority in this country love this country and they are proud of it. That's why he's saying he's not just a South Indian, he's an Indian from the South. So he's putting India first, like that scene in the Chak De, as you might know. So yeah.
Okay. Love the Undertaker. Okay. If J Sai Deepak were buried, what would his tombstone say?
My tombstone say, burn me, please.
And that's the best way to sum up this compilation Thug Life J Sai Deepak video, because he's very good at that. He's very good at being funny, yet being very articulate and very great at pointing out hypocrisies and contradictions of the left in this country and all the anti-India sentiments as well. So cheers to him. He should do more of this and we'll react to more of it. So let me know in the comments if you like to see more of these videos, and then we can do more. So that's it. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.